Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to dive into one of the most important patterns in modern AI, the classifier prompt. This is kind of the secret sauce that helps these powerful language models actually make smart decisions inside AI agents and chatbots. So let's get right into it.
So have you ever wondered how an AI chatbot just gets what you're asking? Or how an AI agent figures out exactly which tool it needs to use? It really can feel like magic, right? Well, it's not magic. It's actually a really clever and surprisingly simple engineering pattern. And in this explainer, we are going to unpack that mystery together.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the AI's decision engine itself. Then, we'll see some of these classifiers out in the wild. After that, we'll get our hands dirty and see how to build the workflow. And finally, we'll see how this one small piece fits into the huge orchestration blueprint of an entire AI system.
All right, let's start with the absolute core concept. The best way to think of a classifier prompt is like an old-school switchboard operator for the AI. It takes an incoming call, that's your request, and it knows exactly which line to plug it into to get you the right answer.
So what is a classifier prompt, really? It's just a special instruction we give to a large language model. The AI brain like GPT-4. We tell it to do one very simple job. Take whatever input you give it, like a user's message, and stick a label on it from a list that we provide. That's it. It's not about being creative, it's about making a clear, predictable choice.
And this diagram just shows you how clean and simple that process is. You see, the user's input goes to the LLM, which has our classifier prompt. The LLM's only job is to spit out one single label, say order status. And then our regular application code sees that label and knows exactly which piece of logic or handler to run. It's basically a traffic controller for AI requests.
Okay, so why is this one pattern so critical? Well, because it's the bedrock of any intelligent workflow. It's what lets our AI make actual decisions, it makes sure requests go to the right place, and it means we don't have to stuff all our logic into one giant, complicated prompt. This gives us a really clean, modular architecture, which makes the whole system more reliable and way easier to debug.
All right, theory is one thing, but let's see how this decision engine actually performs out in the wild. I'm going to show you a couple of real-world examples that'll make this whole concept click.
First up, imagine a smart interview prep assistant. So you upload your resume. The very first thing the system does is use a classifier prompt. It scans the resume and makes one simple call. Is this person a fresher or are they experienced? And based on that one little label, the entire workflow ahead is going to change. It becomes a totally personalized experience. And this is the payoff. Look at how powerful that one decision is. If the label is fresher, the system knows to generate more basic technical questions. But if the label is experienced, it completely switches gears to deep dive questions about past projects and tough scenarios. It's the same system, but it delivers two totally different and much more useful outcomes.
Now let's look at something you've probably used 100 times, chatbot intent detection. When you type, "Where is my package?" into a chat window, there's a classifier prompt working in the background. It's analyzing your message, labeling it with an intent like order status, and that tells the system exactly which API to call to get your tracking information.
Now this right here is a pro tip, and it's absolutely crucial. What happens if a user asks something completely random? That's where a fallback label like other becomes your safety net. Instead of the system just breaking or giving a weird answer, it can gracefully say, I'm not sure about that. Let me get a human for you. It prevents failure and keeps the user experience from falling apart.
Okay, so you've seen what it is, you've seen why it's so useful. Now for the really fun part. Let's take a look at how you can actually build this yourself. And trust me, you'll be surprised at just how simple it is.
The real heart of building this is the prompt template itself. The key, as you can see, is just giving the LLM crystal clear instructions. You tell it its job is to classify, and then you give it a very specific, limited list of labels it's allowed to choose from. This constraint is what forces the model to give you back a structured, predictable output, not just some long, rambling sentence. And once the LLM returns that one single label, the rest is just simple programming. You can use a basic if statement or a switch case in your code, just like you normally would. So if the label you get back is order status, you run your function to call the order API. If it's returns, you kick off the return process. The AI's decision directly triggers a predictable action in your code.
Now, to make your classifiers really solid, there are a few best practices to keep in mind. First, make sure your labels are super clear and don't overlap, so the AI doesn't get confused.
If you're giving it examples in the prompt, that's called a few-shot prompt, make sure they're balanced. Of course, always include that fallback label we talked about. And a neat trick is to use simple tags, like XML tags, to structure the prompt. And finally, tell the model what to do, not what not to do. It just works better that way.
Okay, so let's zoom all the way out. This simple classifier pattern isn't just some small, neat trick. It is a fundamental building block for creating large, sophisticated, and truly intelligent AI systems.
Just think about all the business applications. Customer support can use it to automatically triage tickets to the right agent. Marketing can analyze thousands of open-ended survey responses and group them into themes. Product teams can sift through reviews to identify feature requests. This pattern is just so versatile because it takes all this messy, unstructured text and turns it into clean, structured, actionable data.
And this is where it all comes together in today's most advanced AI agents. The classifier acts as the central router, really the brain of the whole operation. It takes the user's first query and makes that critical first decision. Which tool should I use? Do I need to get more data? Or should I pass this off to a more specialized prompt? It is the orchestrator of the entire workflow.
So, to wrap it all up, what are the key things to remember? Well, classifier prompts are basically the if-then-else logic for AI. They're what allow us to build dynamic, modular workflows. They're the magic that turns messy text into structured data. And most importantly, they're simple to build, but powerful enough to be a cornerstone of modern AI agent design. So, we've seen that classifier prompts are way more than just a clever trick. They really are the fundamental building blocks we use to turn language into intelligent action. They let us create systems that don't just respond, but can actually decide. So, the only question left for you is, what intelligent workflow will you build first? Thanks for joining me.